Okay, and we're live. Welcome to Chalk Talk, everyone. I'm really pleased today to have my guest joining us, Tom Smith, Welton Manager. And I've been really keen to talk to him for a long while. Obviously, he's had such a great season this year, gaining promotion from the Toolstation Division 1. And it's great to finally get you on the podcast, Tom. How are you? And firstly, has it sunk in yet that the actually gaining promotion from the Toolstation Division 1?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me on, Joe. Really appreciate it. It has sunk in now. It's sunk in because it's had to sink in regards to preparation for this season. It was an amazing thing to go through, to experience the promotion with the boys, with the team that, you know, is extra special as a manager when you put a team together and then you can see all the boys enjoying it and you can see how much it means to them. So look, it was fantastic, and it did take a few days to sink in. I think the hangover at the finish as well. But now, now is all focused on next year, and the Prem is going to be a very difficult year for us, as it would for any team going up from Division 1 into the Prem. So, we enjoyed it. We enjoyed it for a week or so, and then it was straight back to work. Then, yeah.
No, good stuff. So let's just rewind a little bit. Obviously, I'm really keen to talk more about what a great season you've had and the nuts and bolts of that. What are your earliest memories of football?
Earliest memories of football. I started playing football at a really young age. I had a coach. Well, it was actually a friend of a parent, Gary Green, who later went on to manage Bristol Rovers ladies. His son was my age, so when we were about 4, we joined an under fives team at Westfield. And that was pretty much as far back as I can remember. So I was playing football from a young age, loved it from a young age, never ever went away from the game. So it was destined for me for when I finished playing, although it came a little bit sooner than maybe I would have liked originally. I was always going to get back into it, and I love football. Football's my life. If you ask my fiance, she'll tell you exactly the same. And yeah, I used to watch Bristol City with my dad. Would always go and watch Welton. I grew up, a minute walk from the ground, so it's quite ironic that I've ended up managing there and playing there for so long. Football goes back. Football's in my blood, and it goes back a long, long way. So I would imagine it would continue to do so definitely for the foreseeable future, anyway.
Yeah, brilliant. So growing up, then, did you play for Welton under-18s before you made it into their sort of first team setup? Was that how it progressed?
Well, no, surprisingly, I played for Welton Rovers under-18s, which are one of our rivals, literally just up the road, 2 minutes up the hill. They're stereotypically a bigger club than us in regards to their current position, obviously being Southern League. But I played for Westfield all the way up through, same club, all the way through from 4 all the way to 16. Broke into Westfield's first team when I was 16. And then within a year, Nick Beaverstock, who's still in the Western League, was manager of Welton last year. He invited me down to pre-season at Welton. And I never looked back. I then consecutively played for Welton for years and years. Had 1 year away when I went to play for Wells City down the road. But apart from that, yeah, it's been Welton all the way through.
Yeah, brilliant. What league were Welton in when you first played for them? Were they always at this level, or have they progressed up through over the years?
No, so it was Division 1. I think they've been in the Western League since they formed in 1887. Okay. So we are the longest, as far as we know, we're the longest serving Western League club. We were Division 1. We played 5 years maybe at the Division 1. Built a bit of a team. Got promoted, second place behind Barnstable, who ironically obviously will be in the same league as next season. We both got promoted there. Welton unfortunately came back down that year. The year they came back down was the year that I left. So they've gone up and down a couple of times, but primarily been a Division 1 team. So this is why it's such an exciting challenge for us this year.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, sure. And I'm led to believe, I was doing a little bit of research before, so obviously we spoke before and stuff, but you've made over 200 appearances for the club as a player, haven't you? Is it two? It might be more than actually. 240 something. I want to say, I don't want to quote myself on it, but I'm sure it's close. That figure when I was Googling.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's it's been a long time there, and hopefully it'll be a lot longer after.
Yeah, great. So how did it transpire that you then went on to manage the first team? Obviously, because you're still relatively young, really, aren't you, as a manager? if you don't mind me saying. You're not sort of ancient, are you? And you could probably still play and do a decent job, I would have thought.
Well, as we spoke about earlier, Joe, I said I think since I stopped playing, the body shape changed slightly. I'd like to think my brain was still there. I was never blessed with amazing pace or fitness, so I'd like to think. I think there's a few players in our squad that would smile and disagree, but no, I always still, even now when I put myself on the bench, I sort of look forward to the opportunity to come on. But yeah, like you said, I'm only I'm 30, well, 30 in a week or so, so I'm still 20, still in my 20s at the moment. And yeah, it was early. We had a couple of managers that, actually, it's unfair for me to say, we had some good managers. And off the field and on the field didn't coincide with us being able to progress. Brilliant manager in Clive Scott brought everyone together. Then we had another manager that came in. It didn't work for him. I'd actually applied for the job when he had it, and it was us two that were the final two. The club, which I've no problem with, went with the experience, went with the other guy, and quite quickly as a club they seen that it didn't quite work. So when he left, they offered me the caretaker job. I took the caretaker job, and then didn't really look back. And then as soon I had three games as caretaker, they announced me as full-time manager, and then we haven't really looked back since. So yeah, it happened quite quick, but it was something that I was ready for and something that I was pushing for already. So yeah, no, it was good.
So where did your sort of desire come from then to sort of go into the coaching and management side of things? Obviously, I mean, myself personally, I sort of love coaching and management and all the aspects of running a team as well. But what did you get to a point where, like, you know, I really want to run a team now, and where did you get that motivation from?
Surprisingly, Joe, it was really early on. I'd always had it in my head that I wanted to manage when I finished. Didn't realize it would be this young. And then as I was progressing through and playing football and playing, you get to your mid-20s and then your later 20s. And you're thinking, I'm going to have to start thinking about managing properly. And I had it in my head. I'd be lying if I didn't say I had it in my head that I've been at Welton for such a long time, and to manage a club like Welton first off is a massive opportunity, and not an opportunity that many managers would get. So, or many young players would get to step into management. So, when the opportunity arose, I was there ready for it. So you know, it was just a case of probably from the age of 23, 24. You know, taking on board what managers are saying, seeing things that I like that they did, seeing things I didn't like, and just sort of building yourself as a manager ready for when you step into it. You're sort of ready. I don't think you're ever 100% ready. You know, you're learning on the job all the time. You know, even if you're Andy Crabtree or Nick Beaverstock that's managing the Western League for 20 years, you're still learning all the time, and the game's always evolving. So, but yeah, I always had it in my head that I was going to manage. So I couldn't wait for the opportunity, and then when the opportunity came up, I'd like to think I've grabbed it with both hands. Hopefully we can just keep it going as we are at the moment. Yeah,
no, brilliant. So I also, if my research is correct, not too long after you did take over, did we get hit with COVID? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. So I actually only had one game as full-time manager against Bristol Telephones at home.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I had one game. We won 6-0, which was a nice one to end on. But then we broke up for COVID. So
wow,
it was nice.
That must have been strange, yeah.
Very strange. And you know, I had people telling me, you know, this is going to be the hardest time anyone's ever gonna have to manage. So I'm thinking, well, if I can get through this and you know, really focus and get through this COVID times, hopefully it'll be easier from then on. I think, you know, the worlds are constantly changing place, and there's always going to be obstacles and hurdles that you're going to have to get over. Obviously, COVID was a massive one, a little bit of an anomaly, really. But yeah, it gave me time to build exactly what I wanted to build. From the day of me being changed from caretaker to full-time manager, I brought in 6 players within 24 hours. So I sort of had them ready to go. But then that extra time over COVID, and then we came back, didn't we? And then we had the curtailed season. So I came back and had like 12 games with the new squad I put together. We were second in the league behind Corsham at that point.
Yeah.
And then it finished again for another while. So I had a lot of time to prepare myself, and I had a lot of time to prepare the squad. That was the only sort of silver lining from such a horrible situation with COVID, really.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you've put in place then to be able to have such a successful season that you have? Is there things that you definitely were aware that you wanted to put in place in terms of certain signings or style of play or little ways that you go about things around the place?
Yeah, definitely. I hope I don't offend anyone by saying this. I think the club were in a state of comfort. I don't think we were ever in danger of losing our place in the Western League, but for maybe 4 of the 6 seasons previously, we were maybe in the bottom 5 for the majority of the time. And I think the club were quite comfortable. Like I said, we had our safe Western League status. We've always had great support anyway. We've always had great bar and great people in the background. And I think when I took over, the main thing I wanted to change is I wanted to create an environment where people wanted to win, and we wanted to progress as a club. In my opinion, I know you've been there, Joe. In my opinion, I think I'm not being biased by saying Welton has got a setup that should be sustainable in the Premier Division. Lovely surrounding, lovely pitch. Like I said, great club, great people at the club. Definitely. So really, what I wanted to bring in, the main thing I wanted to bring in was that drive to try and be as successful as we can. And my aim when I came in was to make us a sustainable Prem team. And the first stage of that is now complete, and it's just a matter of trying to complete the more difficult side of it now, and that's trying to keep us in the Prem and make us competitive in the Prem, no matter who we play against.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, you had an amazing run up till Christmas, didn't you? And then, I think about Christmas time, I tipped you guys to sort of run away with it. And then you did have a little bit of a spell where in the new year where it looked like, oh goodness me, you'd slipped off. I think Warminster had a great run, didn't they? Wincanton had a great run. And then fair play to you guys, you came again, didn't you? Was there any particular reasons why you just fell off the ball? I mean, to be fair, you had such a great run, didn't you? That it was almost hard to sort of 20 games unbeaten or whatever it was, and it was probably that's difficult to maintain, isn't it? You probably set such high standards that, and Wincanton went on such a great run, and Warminster as well, didn't it? But was there any reasons why it just went off the ball slightly? But then you obviously done great to pick it back up and push on to the playoffs again, didn't you?
Yeah, look, I think we had an unfortunate couple of months where we had. And again, this is of our own doing. We won't just blame injuries. Injuries were a big part of it. We suffered some big injuries. Our skipper, Alex Witch, was a massive injury. He picked up a nasty one and was out for 9 weeks or so. We lost our striker as well, so our leading goal scorer to injury at that time. So yeah, it was tough. But we also, we were the architects of our own downfall in certain respects as well. We had 6 red cards in 8 games, which obviously when those suspensions start piling up, you lose on top of the injuries. Your selection's right down. So yeah, we had a tough month or so, and then we had 6 weeks over Christmas where we didn't play at all. Weather, and then we had COVID through the club. The boys coming back after the 6 weeks off. Look, it doesn't matter who you are, what level you play. If you have 6 weeks off, especially over Christmas, you're not going to come back as sharp as you were. And where our fitness was down a little bit, we had to work really hard and really fast to get our fitness back up to speed and game sharpness as well. We were off it. I know we played against yourselves at Almondsbury, and we were a million miles away. You guys were great, but we were a million miles away, and we were like that for a month or so. I think your confidence is always going to be down when you've gone on such a fantastic run. Then you lose one, everyone's looking to see how you react, and then if you don't bounce back immediately, then we'll have the wheels come off. And the questions quite rightly were being asked by people, and all we could really do was remain focused. We did have a big lead, although Sherborne, always had games in hand. So although at one point I think on the table it went to 15 points, I think realistically with the games, if they'd won their games in hand, you're looking at 7 or 8 points. Now that's an easy league to chuck away. And Sherborne, and I hold my hands up to Sherborne, I think they won 27 games in a row at the end of the season, which is something I've never seen in this league, and something that's massively, it's unbelievable. And you've got to take your hat off to that, and fair play to them. And like you mentioned earlier, the amazing runs from Wincanton and Warminster as well. It's shown how good the standard it was in Division 1 this year. I know people, it actually gets to me a little bit. I see people on social media saying about how the standards have dropped, and I think it's the easiest thing in the world for people that used to play or that used to be involved to step away and go, oh, that's nowhere near as good as what I remember. I think that's the easiest thing to do, but I don't think it's the case. I really don't. Like I said, I've played Western League for 10 years. Yeah, I think it's easy for people to say. But if you look at the quality that Warminster, Wincanton, Sherborne, ourselves had, I think you've got to take your hat off to it. So no, I think it was a really, really good season for the Division 1 this year, and it gained a lot of traction and a lot of interest. And to have 750 people, 700, however many it was in the playoff final, just shows how interested people were in it. So no, I think it was a great year of football for everyone involved, really.
Yeah, I'm glad you've touched on that, because I feel the same, and having sort of played and coached in around this level as well, I agree with you. I think a lot of the teams in the Toolstation 1 could more than hold their own in the league above. And in terms of the standard dropping, I don't see that as a case at all. It's as competitive as it's ever been in the top half of the Toolstation 1. And I think a lot of the reason, obviously, potentially is because you've got the Cornwall teams. Maybe some lads don't want to perhaps play in that league above as much, and it's filtered down a little. You've had players drop down that perhaps normally wouldn't do into the Toolstation 1. I think it's made it even more competitive, and I think the standard is as good as it's ever been. I'm really glad that you've said that, and you don't need to say that. But I really believe that's correct.
Yeah, no, definitely. I just, like I said earlier, it's easy to remember things slightly differently than what they were, and I think it's also easy to put yourself on a pedestal when looking back. And I think, I've watched a million games on YouTube, the same as I'm sure you have this year, Joe. But you watch the games, the semi-finals and then the finals, and I know Warminster record a lot of their games as well. And I was at home watching the Sherborne Warminster game at Warminster when it was a 0-0, and I'm watching the game thinking this is a really, really good standard. And you're dead right in what you're saying about people not wanting to do the travelling in the Prem and stepping down, and I find that this year trying to strengthen the team. There's a lot of players that are interested in coming to Welton, but maybe next year when it's regionalised, I think that has to be done. I've got no problem with the league and the FA doing what they did with the Peninsula League and the Cornwall teams doing the travelling, and I'm actually really excited because it's probably the last chance we'll get to travel to these teams like Mousehole, Helston. So we're really looking forward to the challenge. But you're definitely right. There's a lot of players that are just waiting for that to become regionalised to then go back into that Prem. And I just hope that the Division 1 keeps the same standard as it has this year. And to be honest, I've got no doubt that it will. To be honest, there's a lot of committed managers, a lot of committed players, and with the coverage that yourself and Ian Knockolds on the Western League podcast, the coverage that they get, I think it can grow and grow. And I know people that have maybe fallen out of love with their professional teams, maybe with prices of tickets getting so high, and obviously when it was closed gates for COVID and we were still playing, I've seen a lot of people that have sort of drifted towards our local club, and as long as that keeps continuing, then I think the Toolstation will be in a fantastic place.
Yeah, brilliant. So, a couple more questions. Do you have a particular playing style as such in terms of formation or how you want your team to play? Is there any specifics that you are really insistent on in terms of what you've achieved this year?
Work rate for me, and I know it's a cliche thing to say. Obviously, being a defensive-minded player myself, I was either centre half or centre defensive midfield. We have to defend well. We have to be hard to beat, and then from that, we have to have enough quality in the squad to go and hurt teams. It's not always right. I mean, when I first took over, I had it in my head. Right, this is the formation I'm playing. This is how we're going to play. Very quickly, I realised that was very naive of me. I had to realise that you've got to work with what you've got. You've got to build a team. Certain people aren't going to play in certain positions as well as you think they might, or certain people are going to prefer certain positions. And you have to sort of find a balance of the way you want to play, the formation you want to play, the style you want to play, and does it work with the team? Does it work against the opposition as well? So I was probably a little bit rigid coming into it, and then very quickly realised that you have to be a little bit more flexible in regards to how you want to play and how you want to beat certain teams. Myself as a manager, I love doing my research. I love watching teams we're going to play, how to beat them. One of my pet hates, and I tell the boys this, is when you're talking about other teams in the change rooms and the boys turn around and say, "Oh, don't worry about that. Let's concentrate on ourselves. If we do our own jobs, we'll win." I think it's very naive. I think that if we can gain an advantage by learning how they play and learning their weaknesses and how we can exploit that, then that's what we need to try and do to gain the advantage. And our boys very quickly got on board with that. And by the end, we were executing game plans very well. And that came to tuition more in the semi-final and the final of the playoffs than it ever had before. And I know that's the end of the season, so that's when you're expecting it to sort of come together. But to keep 2 clean sheets in those games, and we knew it was going to be tight games. We knew let's not concede. If we don't concede, then we'll progress. And we done that really well. So no, it was a proud moment for me for that all coming off. But yeah, no, not really a particular management style. We just got to work hard, get the midfield back behind the ball every time, and go from there, really.
Yeah, no, great. It's refreshing to hear that you can be so adaptive, and obviously it's worked so well this season. You touched on those playoff games. How were they as an occasion? Did you play? Was it Radstock you played in the first game?
We had Wincanton. Warminster had Radstock.
Right. Sorry. Yes, that's right. Okay.
No, that's fine. We had Wincanton at home. We shouldn't have been at home. We should have been away at Wincanton because they finished above us.
Yeah.
But they were playing. Obviously, they played their remaining fixtures at Gillingham. And they were unable to host the playoff semi-final there. So fortunately, it came to our ground, which we had great support from. I think we had 400 there.
Really?
And it made it was a home game for us. I know Wincanton were the home team on paper, but it gave us a real edge. Our support's been amazing. It's been up on average, it's been 30 people higher than it's been in the last 30 years. So the support was amazing. They were tight games. They were really tight games. No goals in either first half of the semi-final or the final. And it was tensive games. It probably wasn't the best games for people to watch, to be honest, but I think the occasion, everyone loved it. And it was when the scenes when we got through at the end of Warminster, although we were away, I think we took 250 from Inter Norton across. So the scenes were excellent. And yeah, the occasion was brilliant. I don't know about you, Joe, I think the playoffs are a fantastic idea. I think they keep so many clubs involved, and it gives people things to fight for. And then not just that, the extra revenue that clubs can create, and what they need after COVID. I think it was really, really refreshing. So no, I thought it was, as a whole, I thought the playoffs were excellent.
Yeah, I certainly agree. And this, I feel like there hasn't really been playoffs, though, is there, in the Toolstation League in previous years? It's mainly just been. I know a little stat that someone told me a few months back that up until the Championship, the Toolstation League was the only league that didn't have playoffs up until a couple of years ago. And the fact that they've actually introduced that now, I think it like I said, it's brilliant. It gives something for everyone to play for, teams sort of in and around mid-table. I just wish they'll perhaps make it a little bit more clearer next year, because it was, when you go on that app, there's not like a little line there, is there, that says, the top 6 will be in the playoff, or the top 5 will be in the playoffs. It's just sort of, one go up and that's it. So hopefully next year they can make it a little bit more clearer that actually, yes, there is playoffs, and this is the line that's, on the websites and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I 100% agree. I said to Ian when I was talking to Ian in the podcast, and he's talking to me about playoffs and automatic and how many go up. In my opinion, and it might be a novice opinion, I don't know how it works behind the scenes, but for me, you've got to have a plan of how the season's going to go. And I know it's been difficult, and I know I've mentioned it probably more times than I should about COVID, and I know it's difficult, but you've got to have a plan of what's going to happen first. And I didn't know till so late. We knew that their playoffs had been spoken about, and it was a plan. But it was, every time that we thought it was confirmed, underneath is saying subject to change. And
sure,
as you're coming into the last few games thinking, do we really need to give everything we've got to try and get that top spot, that second spot, or do we try and look after the squad a bit, looking to go into playoffs? And it was never ever said to me at any point, 100% there's going to be playoffs. This is going to happen, even when the season is, even when the normal fixtures are finished. I'm thinking, I hope it happens. I hope it happens. And then obviously it got confirmed, and it was brilliant. So no, I completely agree with you. I think it's a great idea. But I think it needs to, and it's going to be the same next year in regards to when the leagues split, and you're going to have the north and south in the Prem, and you're going to have the east, central, west in the Division 1. It needs to be set out early, the relegation and the promotion, so clubs know what to aim for. Because it works both ways. You'll end up with clubs that end up finding themselves in promotion. It gives
you that clarity, doesn't it?
Of course. Yeah, of course. And you'll end up with clubs that sneak into 4th position. They might end up getting accidentally promoted when the club's not ready for it. So you just need the FA and the league to be very clear on what's happening. And as long as they're clear with it, I think most clubs will get on board with most of their ideas. I don't think their ideas are that bad. I think they take some unfair stick sometimes. They've got an incredibly hard job to do. But like you said, just clarity. As long as they can bring out clarity, then everyone can get on board with it, and everyone knows what they're working towards.
Yeah, great. Obviously, I know that Will Justin has stepped aside and won't be working alongside you again next year. Obviously, you've both done such a fantastic job this season, and obviously even in the COVID season, you were right up near the top of the league. How much of a miss will he be? And also, I presume you've got a replacement that's coming in.
Yeah, massive miss. Will was instrumental in what we've done. Is him coming from Bristol, me being out this way, he gave us a completely different pool of players to attack. Was brilliant in recruitment. For me, Will Justin's recruitment is as good as I've ever seen in the Western League. If he's like a dog with a bone. If he wants you at the club, he's going to be ringing you every 5 minutes, and I love that. It's not necessarily my style, but the way that he does it, I needed, and he was excellent. He was always so passionate and always had the time to talk about football. We drove our missus, wives and girlfriends absolutely nuts because we were talking on the phone for 6 hours at a time, and I will miss that. Hopefully I'll work with Will again. Everything's been left on great terms. He just needed to take some time for himself, which is completely understandable. As you know, Joe, the time that it takes to run a Western League team is incredible, and essentially as a volunteer as well. We don't get nothing for it financially, as I wouldn't expect to. So yeah, he's going to be a big miss, but it does open up the door for an exciting new era. Management this year, we've got Joe Ellis, who's a very, very well-known Western League player, captain Cleveland, Cheddar. He's going to be a player assistant along with Will Hunter, who is also a very experienced Western League player. So I've got 2 player assistants. So look, there might be occasions where they're both playing, but I've gone out and got myself first team coach this year, which is a new thing. Last year I sort of done everything myself. I love doing everything myself. I wanted it in my control, if you like, but it doesn't allow me to manage enough. I need to be able to get someone taking the sessions, me, taking players out, talking to players individually, trying to tweak things here and there. So a gentleman, Tiago, who was manager of Tiverington Rocks at the start of the year, he's gonna come in and be part of our management staff as well. So we're set up, ready for it. We're super excited. We're working really hard to make sure we're ready. But yeah, I just can't wait for it to get going, really.
Yeah, sure. So just on that note, last thing. So obviously in the Toolstation Prem next year, you've already mentioned about how you're really looking forward to it and the challenge of sort of facing some of these teams that once the leagues are restructured again, that you might not get the chance to travel down and see. And it's good to see that you're looking at it from a positive perspective and looking to really embrace the occasion. I think that you guys can more than hold your own in that league and certainly hopefully surprise a few people. How optimistic are you and what are the aims for next season?
Very optimistic. I think, after going up the way we did in the playoffs, I think it gives that buzz, and we've retained nearly all the players. We lost a couple, but not to other clubs. We've lost a couple. Our skipper Alex Witch is moving away, planning to move to Dubai, which would be a big life change for him. So, we've replaced well and we've recruited well enough, and it was quite nice not to be a rebuild. We've kept the momentum of the squad that we had this year into next year, hopefully. And we played the likes of Brislington in the Somerset Cup away, and we rested a couple. We put out one of our younger sort of teams that we put out in the year and played the way that we wanted to play. And to be honest, we blew them away. We were outstanding, and that gave us massive confidence. We played Bath City in the same cup, in the next round. They played a full strength team against us. We lost 1-0 at home, and we're in the game right to the final whistle. So we know we can play against opposition that's stereotypically higher opposition. And like I said, the boys are getting very good at trying to execute a game plan. So as long as we keep the belief, the confidence, we have to be aware that there's going to be darker moments this year than last year. When you're winning 85% of your games, it's easy to keep people happy. It's easy to keep a nice big squad. When you're travelling to Mousehole, Exmouth, I know Exmouth have gone now, or Helston, it's going to be a little bit harder. It's going to be new challenges, but I think the boys have got that unity that they'll stick through it thick and thin. And hopefully, like you said, Joe, we'll surprise a few this year. And I want to create an identity the way we want to play this year, and that's going to be based around hard work and discipline. And if we can do that, then the sky's the limit for us, really. I mean, it's a competitive league with massive budgets, and we're not one of those teams with a big budget. We're coming up with a Div 1 budget, but we'll try and utilize it as best as we can, and I think we'll be in a really good place.
Yeah, brilliant. Listen, thanks so much for coming on, Tom. I wish you all the very best next season. You've had an absolutely fantastic season just gone, and to achieve promotion in any league anywhere in the world is such a great achievement. And to do it in the way that you did with the playoffs was fantastic. I've had good conversations with yourself and Will Justin as well, and really two real decent blokes who just genuinely love football. And it's great to see you sort of reaping the rewards of being really successful at the moment. And I just hope you can continue that on next year. I'm sure that you can, like I say, hopefully surprise a few, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it in that league above.
No, I really appreciate it, Joe. Thanks for having me on, mate. Like I said, we had a long chat after the disappointing result we had at your gaff, and I said anytime, mate, you want to have a chat, I'm more than happy to. I think it's yourself, the time you put in for not just the football but for this as well is a credit. So no, thank you, mate. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much. Okay, you've been listening to Chalk Talk. Thanks so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this video, please drop us a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.